Hey guys, welcome back to the LFC Transfer Room podcast. My name's Liam, and we're back to normality this week. No more of this Richie hosting nonsense, because I am once again the host. And of course, we're joined by Firmino's number one fan. And I'll tell you what, he impressed me at the weekend against Villa, so he's in my good books again. How are we doing, Tommy, lad?
Firmino masterclass at the weekend, so I'm as happy as ever. He was great.
I'll tell you what, I was actually, obviously, I don't have a phone at the moment, so I couldn't tweet about it. But I was quite upset when Firmino got brought off. I was like, of all the players, one time he's playing well, you bring him off. But yeah, I just thought I'd keep you updated on my Firmino opinions and how they're changing all the time. And of course, ensuring the trio are all here and all reconnected. Statman Richie, how are we?
Fat man.
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad.
Fat man. I've had a week off and I've completely forgot what I said.
I'll take that hosting responsibility off you again. Yeah, I'll take the host back.
I'm going to take a back seat next week. Sorry about that, Richie. Can only apologise.
That's all right. We'll all know who. We know who win fact of the day now.
I don't like the sound of that. A bit of favouritism going on. But we'll jump into it with some quick-fire transfer talk, as we always do. So the first one is Ibrahima Konate, and James Pearce has essentially come out and said there's no new information on this, and nothing's going to happen on that front until the end of the season. Don't take a journalist to realise that the transfer window opens at the end of the season. So thanks for that one, James. We've just cleared it all up for us. Some news coming from Italy now. Corriere dello Sport, however you pronounce it, say Liverpool have bid for Stefan de Vrij, who's obviously Inter at the moment, plays in a back three. But they are top of the league, so it's maybe one of them, which we were saying beforehand. One of them that you probably would have got excited for a few years ago. His stock's dropped a bit since he's moved over to Inter. Some more news from Italy. We spoke with Gianluca Di Marzio, who gave us an exclusive that Peter Zielinski still remains a target for Liverpool, but it depends on what the Reds' budget's going to be this coming summer. Which is just one that will not go away, because we were linked with him back in like 2015, 2016. So yeah, we're stuck with that rumour still. And he also told us during the interview that Nicolo Barella, who's also at Inter Milan, is a target for Liverpool. But unfortunately, he's unlikely to join because Inter don't want him to leave. And they're essentially just going to highball us on the price. And we know our owners do not like that. So they're probably not going to pay for it. But the big transfer rumour that really came out from this past week, it's not really been much, and it's a potential outgoing. And based on what happened at the, it's not the Bernabeu, is it the Alfredo Di Stefano Stadium? Is that the one that we played at? And a certain Guinean midfielder got hooked in the first half. And so coming from Football Insider, that Liverpool are weighing up whether or not to sell Naby Keita. What do we make of that, Tommy? I can see the faces you're pulling. I'll go to you.
Ridiculous. Like, there's always just too much sort of quick reactionary stuff when something big happens. But when you're the size of like a club that we are, there's just some new sort of rumour that's just made up constantly. And I think James Pearce said something earlier to do with Ox and Keita have like the application and the drive, and that's what Klopp wants in players. He's not going to get rid of him. He's not going to get rid of him. No chance, because might struggle getting someone to. We're not going to cut a loss. We're not going to get a loss on him, and no one's going to pay 50 plus for what we've seen. And B, he's when he's at his best, he's a 50 million world class player. We're yet to see it, and we're still saying the same things. Like, hopefully it's next week. But there's too good of a player in there for Naby to leave. I'm absolutely. You call me Firmino's biggest number one fan. I'm up there with Naby. I absolutely love him as well, and I know that's probably an unpopular opinion on its own. But I think
stand up.
I still do think 3, 4, 5 years later he will come good, and Klopp knows it'll be ridiculous to sell him, and that's my 2 pence.
Richie, thoughts?
Well, yeah, I agree. I think I'm a massive fan of Keita, and I get a lot of stick on it on Twitter because he hasn't. Let's face it, he hasn't hit that high ceiling we expect him to hit, and. Whether that's through injuries. Unfortunately, he's missed actually for Liverpool 54 games through injuries, which is a huge amount of time considering he's only played 53 total appearances for Liverpool. So the injury record isn't great. And I really wish it was, because he is a quality player. Going back to what Tommy said, Leicester City are the reported team in for him, and they're only willing to pay 30 million. And obviously, we bought him for 54, so there's no way Edwards, Klopp, and co are going to sell Naby Keita for a cut price. If anything, and again, quite unpopular here, he's got 2 years left on his contract. I can see, to hold his value, Liverpool offering a new contract, because with 2 years left, his value is diminishing. He's 26. If we're talking about a 31, 32-year-old Naby Keita with 2 years left, it's a different story. He's 26. I generally think that, like what we did with Ox when he had that year out and he had a year extension, I think that Liverpool will probably end up offering another contract. And to be fair, I don't think that's a bad idea, because he's not going to demand, an extra 100 grand in his wage packet, because he hasn't earned it, and he knows that. He knows he has something to prove, and it's almost like a second chance here that will give him a little bit of confidence. It will give him a little bit of a boost, really, if that is what happens. Just to put his term, let's put his performance into numbers, because that's what I personally like to do. In terms of pressures, we know he is just so impressive in his pressing. He's a pressing monster. He's in the 92nd percentile in terms of pressures. It is. Yeah, it is. Don't ask anyone with a lisp to say that. He's in the 94th percentile in terms of successful dribbles, and he averages 9 progressive carries a game. And we saw it against Madrid in that first half. Now, let's be honest, anybody could have been taken off in that first half. Absolutely anybody. It was just so happened that it was Naby Keita. I don't remember if he went past 3 of those Madrid players in midfield like they weren't there. And I thought,
no one else can.
No one else can do that for Liverpool. Nobody else can do that. Ox used to be able to do it. Salah can do it, but not with that skill, in those tight situations. I've seen Thiago do it a couple of times, but
I've seen Wijnaldum do it in an orange shirt.
Yes, yeah. He has done it a couple of times as well for Liverpool, isn't he? But not as... We're talking about like 9 progressive carries on average. None of a Liverpool player does that.
No.
So, again, if we had the Naby from Leipzig, he had 71 games for Leipzig and he scored 17 goals in that time and assisted 15. That's the Keita that we know. And he's just been so unlucky with injuries. And it always feels like he's out, doesn't it? With like a long term, but the longest time he's been out is 13 in a row. It's all little niggling injuries that keep him out. It's like 4 games at a time, 3 games, 2 games, with all separate things. So it's just not hit any luck. And I think as soon as Klopp hooked him, like I said, it could have been anyone. He could have taken Genie off. He could have taken literally anybody off. But that was it. I think everyone straight away on Twitter, wasn't it? Is this the end for Naby? But I don't think so. I really like him. I really want him to do well. And I'll continue to get nonsense spouted at me on Twitter because I'll continue to say that until he leaves. So, Liam, what do you think?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you mentioned there about the Keita getting like his niggling injuries and he's not actually out for that long in terms of him actually being sidelined and can't be part of the squad. I think the issue with it and why it feels like a lot longer for people is that once, especially over the last since he went away with Guinea, and then he got really bad, and then Klopp's come back and he's really, really tried to manage him as best he can, and not as soon as he's back from 3-4 games out, he's not going to throw him straight back in. He'll still then will give him over the last sort of year or so whenever he's got an injury. I think that's why it feels like a bit longer. He'll just be like coming off the bench here and there, or he'll just be on the bench and won't actually come on at all. Things like that.
And wasn't that his that was the first start he's had for a very long time, and he's thrown him straight in against Real Madrid. That is into the fire.
It was poor from Klopp, I think.
I mean, I understand why he did it because of what Klopp said and what you've just said there in terms of how we carried, and Klopp said we wanted a dribbler to get out.
And a presser as well.
Yeah, to get out this team. You say you want a presser. The first goal, Toni Kroos is...
I know.
What's he got? 20 yards around him? No one. We needed more pressers.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't... Genie... We know that Genie is a complete engine and a machine, but it can't just be him who has to press all the time. He looks burnt out, to be honest, Genie. He's played...
It's what I've said about Genie.
We miss Henderson so much.
Yeah, Hendo as well.
We miss Henderson, yeah. We do.
What I've said with Genie though is I think we are just burning him out. I think we're happy with the fact that he's going, and we're just going to go, well, you know what, we're going to get every last ounce that we can from you, while the rest of our team's in A&E. With Keita though, do you not think it's sort of an issue with how Klopp wants his midfielders to be, in that he can't be as expressive as he was at Leipzig. He has to be a bit more disciplined, I feel, anyway. And when he was at Leipzig, they played like a 4-2-2-2, sort of weird shape. Not with wingers, they were like two number 10s essentially, with like two forwards in front of them. And Keita used to play as one of the 10s, so obviously he doesn't have the defensive thing that he will with an 8 in this Liverpool system, which might obviously then affect the numbers that he can put up and just how expressive he can be on the ball. I just feel like we're not getting that because of what Klopp asks from his midfielders.
And also this season, especially, I think we saw it with Thiago nowhere near his best. He hasn't had any coverage with Fabinho sitting at that 6 or Henderson. Very rarely, if ever, have we seen, and I'd love to see it, a Henderson, Fabinho, Keita midfield, because Keita then can roam, because you've got two players who not only press, they also tackle and can cover for him. And he can almost they can work almost of a double pivot and Keita move into that advanced role. And we haven't seen that. And he's not really been paired with or tripled with anybody who allows him to do that. The same with Thiago, isn't it? You know, that's what we said. This isn't Thiago's game to be a 6. Now we're seeing a better side of Thiago because Fabinho, you know, I hate to use the word unlocks him because it reminds me of Paul Pogba. But that's essentially what Fabinho does. And I think the same is with Keita, really. I think Tommy hit it on the head. It's reactionary for Keita to be sold.
It always is, though, Twitter.
I think on the Keita stuff, it was similar to what Richie's saying. Another key thing is he's so much better on the left, and Klopp keeps on playing him on the right. And Genie's better on the right, and he keeps playing on the left until... I forgot the one team we actually beat the other day. Genie was on the right, and it looked good. I just love
Villa.
I'd love to see Keita on the left again. He's so much better there, and I don't know why Klopp just doesn't do it anymore.
Yeah, it's a thing with me and Milner. Milner always plays on the left, and he does it all the time. Where he basically stands on top of Andy Robertson, and it does my head in. But then he does do the job in filling in for him a lot because he just falls back into the left back role. Yeah. But when he's too far forward, Milner, I'm like, you stood on our left back, one of our most creative outlets. Please assign yourself elsewhere on the pitch because you're doing my head in.
Keita and Robertson link up, and even Mane as well was so good. And that left hand side is properly lacking compared to what it was. Keita would probably bring back that bit of thing that Robertson and Mane had previously.
It's something that I was actually thinking of as well before we started recording, and I wanted to bring it up, is Keita played a few times on the left. I think we played like a 4-2-3-1. It was a while back now. I think it was around the time when Shaqiri came off the bench and we beat United. I think he played on the left then. I think he played on the left against Barca. Sorry, or maybe Bayern.
Yeah,
it was away in like a big Champions League game, and he played on the left. I think he ended up getting injured and coming off quite early, of course. But would you not like to see something like that? And like we said in previous weeks, maybe Firmino was a 10, play a 4-2-3-1, double pivot, Thiago, Fabinho, Keita off the left.
I was going to say
Firmino 10, and then Salah, Mane,
or
right
Mane or
Jota. You know what I mean. Maybe just a way to try and get his confidence up and give him more of free roam to do what he does best. Yeah. I think it's something to look at because Klopp's done it before, and it went really well for him, and he trusted him as well playing on the left. Whereas I don't get the feeling that he does trust him anymore, unfortunately. I didn't actually answer the question. I don't think he should leave. I don't think he will leave. I've just been going off on tangents all over the shop. But I'm glad we're all in agreement.
Yeah, I think it's always a tricky one, with Naby Keita, because you can't rely on him at the moment because of his injuries. Hopefully he's got past that. It's now just finding his position and pairing him up with the right people in that midfield.
And for me, if you look at our bet, like full teams fit, let's say Thiago, Henderson, Fabinho start in midfield. Next season, for example, Wijnaldum's gone. You look at our next choice midfielders, Chamberlain, Shaqiri plays in midfield sometimes, or Keita, and you're telling me you want to get rid of Keita? Not a chance. I think it'll be and Curtis Jones. Curtis Jones, of course, I forgot.
Nowhere.
Curtis. But even maybe unpopular, maybe an early unpopular opinion, but I prefer Keita than Jones. But let us know. Let's see what everyone thinks if I'm going to get slaughtered once more. We'll move it on to the fan question, which was, well, we're just going to pick one name each, and it's what would be the perfect summer transfer window for Liverpool. So I think I went with you first last time, Tommy. We'll let Richie take the first name for this one.
Okay, so it's someone who we've covered before, and I think it's someone who will always be linked to. We're trying to make this realistic as well, because obviously I'd go out and say Mbappe, but we're going to try and make it realistic. My choice would be Rafinha from Leeds. I think he's just getting better and better. I think Klopp will bring the best out of him as well. He'll just slot into our system. There'll be no transition period. He plays in the league, plays in that attacking press under Bielsa. He's versatile. He's a dribbler. He's everything that we want, really. And if we are going to bring in another attacker this year, he's not going to break the bank. I think Rafinha would be a really sensible option for us. So my pick in the attacking, I went for the glory there for the attacker. So yeah, no one else can pick an attacker, but I'm saying Rafinha.
That's a great pick.
It's a good choice.
Especially
I imagine
after
that was
today.
one of yours, Tommy's.
Do you know what? He's on the shortlist, but in a similar style of sort of play and, you know, being a bit silky, creative, two I can't choose between are Sancho or Grealish. I think Sancho I'm going towards purely because,
Hang on, well, I said realistic.
Sancho's realistic.
Sancho's not staying at Dortmund this summer. Dortmund aren't getting top four.
If not Sancho, then Grealish, because just so much creativity in that player, and that's what we're lacking so badly right now. Just, you know, when we signed Van Dijk, I'm pretty sure I've said this on the pod before, and I've said it to people before, but Van Dijk was a 75 million game changer. We went up a gear. That's exactly what Grealish should be. It'd be that player that'd come in. I love his attitude and his sort of vibe around him as well. And the country love him. So joining Liverpool, everyone would hate him. Just, you know, churns out chances. So I just love him. I never liked him, but at Liverpool, I would love him. I think he'd be perfect. But if not Sancho, you know, two sort of players who would probably play Grealish on the left, Sancho could play either side, and he's younger. They create chances. They can dribble. Yeah, it's exactly what we need right now.
That kind of ties in with Keita. Would that spell the end of him if we were to sign Grealish?
No, not at all.
You know, I think. Because
like you said, the midfield options are fairly bleak. I want to get a midfielder regardless of Gini leaving, and then I want Keita ideally not as a left winger option. So Sancho would be that. And Mane is the one who is you know
what? Looking at,
in my opinion, and I'd like that if we're going to sort of start looking at replacements, because we've got at some point. I think Sancho can play on the left.
I think out of Sancho and Grealish, I might lean. Oh, I don't know, because he's got like 5 years on him, doesn't he? To be fair. But Grealish, like, he's daft.
He is unbelievable.
He's just crazy. Like, he's one of them like Keita, where he'll just pick the ball up in his own half and just take on half the team.
I think Sancho's similar and younger.
Although Grealish needs to pull his socks up, quite literally, because those things are far too low. What is he doing? So I've got one, and you two have gone for quite offensive players. You've gone for like a sort of maybe a midfielder. If you wait, did you lean towards Sancho or Grealish more, Tommy?
I can't call it. I'm going to go Sancho purely.
You get one name. So you've both picked wingers.
No, I'm changing my mind. I'm going Grealish.
Okay, you've picked a winger who can play in midfield then. So not too awful. Right, so I've got another name, but because we're already heavily linked with this guy who was on my list, and I can't go for another striker, so I was just going to say Konate. It's quite obvious why.
Yeah,
I think that's sensible.
Yeah. Would you like a different name because we've already discussed him heavily and we already linked, or are we happy with that?
Konate might be the one.
I think that's sensible.
That is the one. Second and third choice would have been Botman or Koundé from Lille and Sevilla. So one of them three, but Konate top of the list. I think. Was it Christian Falk came out and said like he's actually cheaper than what we originally thought as well?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, he is. So again, you're not breaking the bank there. I suppose the Rafinha signing and Konate are fairly cheap, and then you could go all out for Jack Grealish, who is just class.
Yeah,
lovely. That's the dream.
Perfect summer.
Conference League football attracting them all.
There we go. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah.
Fact of the day now. What were we on? 4-2, I believe. I definitely won last time I was on, and that was my second win.
Richie, you know.
Either way, you are going to need your pen and paper / phone, and Liam hasn't
I
got
don't
a
have a
phone.
phone. Don't have a phone. Right, I will put mine in the chat on screen here, and as soon as we finish, I will
Press enter.
Press
I like
enter.
Good.
Oh, wait,
I like it. So,
in fact, you do that as well, Thomas, so you can't read off my message.
So what I need is 30 seconds, and because we have a huge game against Real Madrid, and I was listening back to the old last week's podcast, and Tommy and I finished off with, we will be talking to you again after another win against Madrid. That didn't go down very well, but I meant it over the 2 legs. I meant over 2 legs, of course. So keeping with European and Champions League football, I need the top 10 Liverpool players who have the most appearances for Liverpool in the Champions League. So it's quite modern era, just Champions League.
Oh, yeah, so just Champions League. Oh,
just Champions League.
Yep. Can we start? Can I start typing?
Yep, your 30 seconds start now. And for everyone else listening at home, you are looking for the top 10, or as many as you can, Liverpool players who have the most Champions League appearances for Liverpool.
Ooh. This is hard, isn't it?
No.
I don't know why I've put that name in there. What am I doing?
You have 10 seconds left.
Is it just worth going with the current squad and a certain former captain?
You maybe could do that. Okay, and your time's up. So in our chat on that sidebar, that's all right. You can put 11 in. Okay, so I'll read out what Tommy's got. So Tommy has gone for Gerrard, Firmino, of course, Mane, Salah, Henderson, Kite, Crouch, and Mascherano. Liam's gone Gerrard, Carragher, Salah, Mane, Firmino, Alisson, Trent, Henderson, Milner, and Robertson. So you're going to have to tick your own off. These are the top 10. How did neither of us go for Wijnaldum? These are the top 10. So Carragher has the most appearances with 91. Gerrard on 86. They're the top 2 by a distance. Then in third is John Arna-Risa. Fourth is Sami Hyypiä. Fifth, Jose Reina. Xabi Alonso is 6th. 7th is Mo Salah. 8th is Mane. 9th is the best right back Liverpool have ever seen, Steve Finnan. And number 10 is Bobby Firmino.
Wow, he's done it.
I was going to put Finnan in there as well, and I was like, surely he didn't play that many Champions League games. That's awful.
You were,
I got 5.
You were very close. You were very close though, because Wijnaldum, Kite, and Henderson, who you guys mentioned as well, they are in there next. So very well done. What was interesting though is that Trent has 37 already. So I would fully expect, if Liverpool carry on the way that they're doing, for Trent to break Carragher's record of 91.
That's what happens when you're the best right back in the world at 22.
Absolutely. Good job that Steve Finnan's not playing.
Keep him on bench.
So, Tommy, how many did you get? Sorry, 5? 4.
Tommy got 4.
More than what Liam got.
I got Carragher, and Tommy didn't get Carragher.
Yeah, Carragher's in there. So yeah, Liam takes today's fact of the day.
The comeback is well and truly on. Gini Wijnaldum is off the bench, and the goal headed in Shaqiri's cross.
It's coming. We just need Origi now.
It's coming, lads.
Just need a quick corner taken quickly.
Oh yeah, so that'll be next week if I'm here.
There we go. We're staying with our Victor as well, aren't we? Because it's your unpopular opinion.
Oh, I like the sound of that, Richie. Our Victor, love it. Yeah. So my unpopular opinion, it was kind of more relevant a few weeks ago because there were a lot of talk on Twitter about this player. I think there was some kind of anniversary to do with him. And I thought of it then, and it's only just become my turn again to pick my unpopular opinion. So Fernando Torres is not a Liverpool legend.
Fair.
Really? I thought I'd get slaughtered for that.
Too rich of a history for him to be a legend. He's an icon in my eyes.
Yeah, because it was really hard. I felt really hard, harsh saying that because, obviously that when Torres joined, I was only 10 or 11, so that's as I was proper in getting into football, and I was like, this kid is unreal, and like I just worshipped him, like him and Gerrard in high school and that, for me, unreal.
I think he's so like highly rated by a large proportion of fans because we didn't have, as in highly tiered, because we didn't have as much success for a lot of our fans, lifetimes. And Torres was like the peak of our powers for a while. So I can.
And Torres was the peak, but he left. He joined the year after we won the FA Cup in 2006. Then he left in 2010 was it? So we didn't win a trophy again until the League Cup in 2012. Torres never won a trophy for us, which I just find mad.
Yeah, he's not a legend. There's too many players that have won trophies here from TPL.
Well, that's the main reason for me.
I think with Torres though, El Nino, I think that regardless of what he won, he still pushed a move through to a rival at that time, in Chelsea. And I know that from that money we brought in Carroll and Suarez, but we were backs against the wall there, really pushed through the last day, and moving in January as well is not, I always think, unless the club wants to sell you, pushing a move through in January, that especially that late, really lands you in a lot of trouble. And as you said, this is probably more unpopular. I wouldn't class Luis Suarez as a Liverpool legend. So therefore, Fernando Torres is not a Liverpool legend. Yeah. I rate Suarez higher than Torres. I mean, I love Torres. I was at university when he was hitting his prime, and I actually had bleach blonde hair, headband. I was like just
Richie, we need a picture.
I will show you. I have got one. I was a complete mark for Fernando Torres. Yeah, I was a complete mark for Torres, and he was brilliant, but he's not a legend, I don't think. Again, to go off piste slightly, I saw Goal tweet Sadio Mane, something about Mane because of what he's done with his charity work, and they said a Liverpool legend, and loads of people below was like, how is Mane a legend?
Of course he is.
So if people are questioning Mane, as a Liverpool legend,
how are people questioning Mane? Anyone who is employed by Liverpool Football Club after what they did last year is a legend.
And the year before, 2 years,
Champions
League, Premier League.
Specifically bringing the league back to Anfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't play. He played once, and it didn't go well for him.
No,
but you get what I'm getting at. Anyone who had a real contribution to that run to the Premier League, and obviously winning the Champions League as well, Liverpool legend. Sadio Mane, Liverpool legend. Fernando Torres is not. And
it's a shame as well. Have you seen him? Have you seen him recently? That boy is stacked. That is not El Nino anymore.
He is. He's. I don't know Spanish for the bodybuilder, but he's that. He's absolutely ripped.
El Machine.
Had his diet plan.
El Machino. Yeah. So, I mean, you two seem to agree with me actually on that one, which I'm quite surprised with. But maybe the people in the comments on YouTube, and you can tweet us as well, obviously, if you do disagree. But let us know. And that is it for today. So we'll be back next week. Hopefully all three of us again, because we've had a few of us missing for the last few weeks. But hopefully a full complement of the LFC Transferring podcast next week. So, yeah, until then, bye-bye.
See you later.